Most video agency owners will never consistently charge more than $5 per project. Not because they're bad at video, but because they're selling the wrong thing. If you're charging $2 or $3 per project, you don't really have a business. You built yourself a stressful, underpaid job. And I know because I've been there. And that's why I'm building a brand new video agency from zero to my first 100K with no case studies, no portfolio, and no leads. And I'm sharing the entire journey in real time. And already I've closed a 25K deal and built a strong pipeline. But along the way, I've discovered something game-changing. In this episode, I'll show you why most video agency owners are stuck at low-ticket projects, and then how to break out of that with what I call strategic pricing. And stick with me, because in a few minutes, I'll share a conversation where if I'd pitched the old way, it would have been worth 2K. But using this framework, the client literally said that the video strategy alone is worth 100K. Let me paint you a typical picture. So a client says, we need a video. You get excited, you pitch a few ideas, and then the budget lands maybe 2 or 3 or 4 grand. You take the job and you grind through it, you deliver something solid, and then you're back at zero. Empty calendar, same panic, same hustle. And I lived in this cycle for years, and if you're honest, maybe you're living it now. But here's the shift. The problem isn't that clients don't have the money, it's that you're putting yourself in the vendor box. And the moment you lead with saying, we make video, or here's my reel, you're then compared to everyone else. And the only thing left to compete on then is price. Stacking 2K projects doesn't build a business, it builds a treadmill. You can't scale, you can't hire, and then the clients who pay the least will bleed you with revisions. And then meanwhile, the clients who pay the most, they're focused on outcomes, not hours. They value the results and the deliverables. And that's the freedom you want. Fewer clients, bigger projects with real growth potential. And also, getting out of the vendor box is way easier than you think. Here's one of my recent experiences from this very project. I was talking to a business owner who said that they needed video content. If I pitched the way that most videographers do, it would have been a 2 or 3 grand project. But instead, I slowed down, I asked the questions, and I'll share what some of those are in a moment, and I dug deeper. And what came out changed the entire conversation. Their real challenge wasn't, we need a video. The real challenge was influencing upcoming government legislation. And think about that. It wasn't just about marketing. This was about survival and shaping the future of their industry. That's a completely different problem to solve from just making video. And by the end of the conversation, the client said that I can see this being worth £100,000 for the video alone. And while pricing is important, it's not just about that. Had I not asked the right questions, we wouldn't have uncovered the real problem. And then even if we had won the deal, it would have been unlikely that the videos we would have made would have actually been effective. So it's not about having better cameras or editing skills. It's about asking the right questions and positioning yourself as a problem solver instead of a technician. And that's the difference between a 2K project and a 100K project. So what exactly is strategic pricing? Well, it's moving away from charging for deliverables like hours, days, or edits, and instead pricing based on the value of the problem that you're solving. Think of it like this. If you go into a doctor's office and you say that you've got chest pain, if that doctor then immediately handed you 2 pills for $5, you'd run a mile because the doctor skipped the most important step, the diagnosis. But that's exactly what most videographers do. They just say, need a video? Here's my reel, here's my quote. Strategic pricing, on the other hand, flips that. You become the doctor. You start asking the questions, you uncover the real pain, and then you show what the bigger stakes are. Only then do you prescribe a solution. And the kicker, this isn't about just charging more, it's about changing the whole conversation. So by the time you mention video, the client sees it as mission critical, not just optional. So here's the big question. How do we communicate value to show that this is indeed mission critical? So at the core, you need to do 4 things. You need to stop talking and spend a lot more time listening. A good strategy call should be 90% listening and 10% talking. Second, you need to show up with the right intention, with genuine interest and curiosity in the prospect's business. I always invest a few minutes before the call, aligning my why and setting my intention. Third, you need to go in as a blank canvas. Remove any expectations and open yourself up to whatever the client has to say. This isn't about you, it's not about video, it's not about pitching, it's all about them, which ties in with the earlier point about listening. Then 4, you need to spend less time giving commentary and more time asking good questions. And that's what we'll focus on next. Now, I can give you this as a real world example from one of my recent conversations. So I'll break it down into 3 key areas of questioning that I always like to start with. So I started by focusing on what's the biggest challenge in your business right now. Then I shut up and I just listen carefully. And then I explore the challenge in detail. And yes, at many points, the temptation to talk about video pops into my head, but I resisted because I know I'm here to understand the challenge before prescribing a solution. Once I was clear on the challenge, the second thing I wanted to know was, What's the cost of not solving it? And here we can either focus on what they stand to gain or what they could lose, depending on their personality type and the situation. But generally speaking, it's best to go with what they stand to lose because the human mind is more triggered by losing a dollar versus gaining one. Then the third question I love to ask is, if we were talking a year from now and everything's gone right, what happened? And this is a really powerful question that helps the prospect visualize success and paint a clear picture. What I love most about it is that it gives me a really clear destination. And then from that, I can start working backwards to create a clear roadmap. Keep in mind that this is simplified and this part of the conversation can run for half an hour or more. But if you focus on getting good answers to these 3 questions, it will totally transform your meetings and take you from being a vendor to an advisor. Also, at the end of the video, I'll show you how you can get my PDF question guide that you can start using in your next meeting. Once you know the challenge, you can then connect it to the outcomes that video can deliver, such as sales team getting poor quality leads. Well, you can create videos that pre-qualify them. Clients dropping off after onboarding. Well, you can build an onboarding video series that saves them hundreds of thousands in churn. Struggling with public trust? Launch a video campaign that builds trust by reassuring the right people with the right message. Now, when it comes to pricing, we're no longer just talking about creating a video for $2K. If solving their problem is worth $500K to them, charging $25K isn't expensive, it's a no-brainer. You're not pricing your time, you're pricing the transformation. Now, here's another example. One of my students, Sarah, she was stuck for years charging $2,000 for event highlight videos. She was exhausted and burnt out. But when she switched to strategic pricing, she stopped pitching highlight reels and instead she asked, what's your biggest challenge in filling seats for your events? It turns out that the organizer wasn't losing ticket sales, they were losing sponsors because they didn't have proof that their events delivered ROI. So instead, Sarah pitched a $20K sponsor attraction system built around strategic video assets. And within just a few weeks, she's now charging 10 times more for the same amount of work while also getting better results for her clients. It's also easier to deliver because she took more time to understand the problem. Notice that she didn't change her skills or need better cameras. Instead, she shifted her positioning and charged 10 times her normal fee. Once you start using strategic pricing, everything changes. You stop competing on price and you stop being treated like a vendor. You start being seen as a trusted advisor. And I've already shown in my agency from zero project, this shift alone can turn a $2,000 project into a $25,000 project or even a $100,000 opportunity. So to be frank, if you're still charging $2,000 for projects, it's not because clients won't pay more, it's because you haven't learned to frame the conversation correctly. And this is why most video agency owners will never break past a few grand per project, not because they lack talent, because they refuse to make this shift. So here's my challenge to you. In your next meetings, don't talk about video, but instead ask the questions that I've shared with you today and take your time to understand the prospect's business and challenges. And if you want a PDF guide that I've put together on this specific topic to help you with your next meeting, DM me the word guide on Instagram and I'll send it over. Let me know what you think about the takeaways from this video in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video where I'll share new updates from the agency from zero project and more actionable takeaways. I'll see you there.